data and die. Obviously, I fixed nothing. And the starter's jumping. Dan here, DSP Chop. 55 Chevy Nomad. We haven't worked on this in a day. So where we left it last, it ran. It was a little on the loud side, but it had first, second, and reverse. So I assume 3, 4, and 5 were all there as well. The brakes worked and all that. Now what I want to do on this video is I'd like to take it for a ride around the block. I've had this car for probably 2 years. I feel like I've rebuilt it 3 times. It's been 3 years? 2 years, I forget. I worked on it last winter, and then 2 winters ago I didn't work on it last winter. But anyway, I want to go for a ride around the block. I've never driven this thing other than, I didn't think I've gone around the block in it, just between the 2 garages. So it's time to actually drive it and see what everything it needs. I put the new wheels on. I have mixed feelings. They're very shiny. They're very nice wheels, but I don't know if they're just shiny. I'm not a shiny guy, but it's got shiny back wheels and shiny front wheels, which is very strange. Anyway, so we have to do today is smash Danielle's phone. But we have all sorts of under hood wiring gremlins and whatnot to take care of. Obviously everything has just been, well, don't show it too close, it looks worse than it really is. Everything is just kerfuffled and tossed in there. And I did all that because if we're gonna have issues, I want all the wiring kind of exposed so we could trace wires or do whatever. And as it turns out, we actually kind of had to do a little bit of that. So it worked out. So we're gonna do a bunch of that, proper wiring, get everything tucked up, wire in the fan properly on a switch. I do have a couple of these little side panels. I don't know if I'll put those on or not. I'm fighting out if I want to run this radiator or I just want to use this for the time being and put the big honking one in there. We have, yeah, we got a rad cap somewhere. It's on the ground or something. We got a 10-pack. Oh, it's right there. It's in the pile of transmission oil behind the transmission. See? I knew exactly where it was. And I oiled it so it wouldn't rust. Anyway, we got to shorten up the fuel line. I'm pretty confident everything from the firewall back is good. The brakes are all good. Everything's all tied up, the fuel line and all that. So we just got to either reroute this, which I might just do, or whatever. We got to figure that out. I got new plug wires, because these are all just ones I had. I want to make brand new ones. Just kind of screw around, make the e-brake work. I'm sure there's other things to put front shocks in. I don't have back shocks, yada, yada. Anyways, we got a new tool today, and it is way too good and complicated for me, but this is an arc droid. So I don't know how to use it, but basically it's like an arm that can CNC plasma. So that Great Western Saw guy hooked me up. He's like, you need a plasma, you need this, you need blah, blah, blah. Next thing you know, my Visa card's out and I don't even know what happened. But anyways, it's supposed to be able to do everything I can do by hand, but make it look prettier. So the first thing I want to build is a very simple cap for this collector. Now, these are just 3-inch, header collectors. And what I want to do is I think I want to put them like this. So I'll have to like fish mouth it, put it on, and then have it stick out the side, but I need a cap for it. Now, I'm not going to build this, but Mur is all excited about this thing. Half the reason I bought it was because Mur's like, oh, that seems cool. We could build signs. So retirement guy, support a senior, that's what we did there. So in the meantime, if I can get some caps made, mint. So we'll see how that works out. I don't know if that'll be today or not. That's up to Mur. He has to ride his electric bike over. And yeah, we'll go from there. Shift linkage or a throttle linkage. There's a lot of little stuff. It may be time to make a list because
This isn't
honestly, that would probably make Power Tour fine. I mean, that's some thick ass baling wire. But I want to make sure it's all good and proper and get everything zip tied up. And kind of go from there. I think I'm going to work on first is the emergency brake cable. I also bought a drive shaft loop. I think it's actually still inside. I got to get that. I'm going to put that on there just for my own, good feelings. I don't want the drive shaft to yard out of this thing and send us flying. Daniel appreciates it. And then I think we just got to get heater fan and a set of wipers. I think we're kind of done with this hot rod. So I planned anyway. So I'm going to get started, get set up, and I'll probably see you under the car. Welding, grinding, hating my life. Going from there. I don't even know how it got dark. tonight's one of those nights where I've accomplished very little, but it is taking a lot of time. The emergency brake, park brake. I gotta say, Tri-5 Chevys have a terrible, terrible emergency brake or park brake setup, but what are you gonna do? You know, so 55 was a big year. Obviously the front ends went independent and all that sort of stuff for Chevys. And you can really tell how like the front ends are like, they're better than like a beam axle type thing, but they still haven't quite figured it out. And by like the 60s, they kind of had it dialed. Anyway, so the way it's got like an umbrella style, I think that's what it's called, park brake. So you gotta pull, and that kind of does its thing, and you turn it, and it goes back in. So it's got gears or teeth on it to kind of, once it goes out, it won't go back in. And then it's kind of spring loaded to go back in there. So that's how that works. Now, you're like, well, why would that be so hard, Dan? Let me show you, because it's a freaking nightmare. It took me, well, the better part of 2 hours putting it together. So we'll just slide on under here. So that cable that we were just, well, that umbrella we were pulling on, pulls on this cable. So it goes through this little wheel, goes down to that wheel. You're like, well, that's not too big of a deal. Yeah, it's not, but the problem is, you actually have to unbolt this, which has 2 bolts going that way and 2 bolts coming from the floor out to hold it in, to take it apart, to then take the little wheel out, to then thread the cable through. The cable then goes back here, which, you know, attaches to this. Now this is where all of my time went. So you see this bar, the way it works, so you pull in this cable, and what that does is this is goes back to the e-brake. So it's got like a little, you know, horseshoe type deal, and that's where you get your braking. Now this is typically supposed to be a flat bar that goes across, and everyone I've ever had has been a flat bar and it always hits the drive shaft. So this one I screwed around, bent it all around. All these pieces I had, of course they don't come with the floor, so that's all old stuff which you take apart and clean and make work and screw around. So that's why the more modern stuff is much nicer, because it has like one cable and typically goes into some sort of intermediate, or, you know, does something different. But this is dumb, but it works. And then I screwed around with this, getting the drive shaft loop in. So I don't know how close you're supposed to get to the front, but this is where I felt easiest to get to. And we've got like a fingers top and bottom, or side to side, and then the bottom I can still put my finger through it. Obviously it can't go any lower because the rear end's hanging on the suspension, and then obviously up it's right up against the tunnel, so we should be fine. Ugh. Just crawl under here, out of here I should say. So that's kind of where, that's all I got done. That was it. Now, magnet, but those were the ugly jobs. E-brake I was really putting off. Drive shaft loop, I was putting that off. I was like, you know what, I'll just feel better with that there. So I think underneath we're done. I don't have any rear shocks. I got to get some, but we can drive without rear shocks. Has no front shocks, but I do have some. And now I think while it's up in the air, I'm just going to tie up a few of these kind of miscellaneous cables, make sure everything's good. All of our ground wires and all that are all, you know, secured in with actually I don't even have any more P-clamps, but secure those the best I can. And that's probably where I'm going to leave it for tonight. And then tomorrow I'll come back and we'll do everything under the hood. Do, you know, flip up the wiring, the fuel line. I think that's kind of it. Make sure it's headlights, taillights, just the basics. We can drive around the block. I'm still looking for, there's a guy actually this weekend I got to go look, but a cluster and some headlights or turn signal lights. So there you go. I know it's a lot of talking to start the video off, but we'll get some more action at the end. This is just boring little stuff, which is, it's hot rodding. You got to get these things done. Dan here, DD Speed Shop. Oh, that's actually day 2 of this video. So there's no need for an intro. Woo! So I've been kind of messing around on this thing with the wiring. So underneath, I think I ended up, everything was all kind of tied up. So I just did the O2. Then today on the way home, I got some heavy duty wire. I went with 8 gauge, so that's what we use for a charge wire. So what I'm planning on doing here is running everything and hiding all the wires under the tunnel ram. So on this side, we're making some progress. basically we're just gonna kind of, it's all still loose. We're gonna have, you know, one plug wire coming out there. I've trimmed down this harness and just heat shrinked everything. So 3 wires here, one's like the tack wire, one's for the fan we're gonna control, and one is to the distributor. So that's very simple. We can, you know, then tuck that all in there. We put new plug wires in and ran it all down and along the back. I'm gonna get some heat, you know, boots and stuff like that to hold it, but it's definitely a fair bit cleaner than it was, and we're only missing just this one wiring harness currently not plugged in. So I think it looks a lot better. Fuel line's still ridiculous, and I gotta make some sort of linkage, but we're getting there slowly but surely. Oh, one thing I wanted to address here in the last video, people were losing their mind that I cut the front of the quarter panels. They're like, just push the diff back. Okay, now let me address that real quick. So the wheel is basically centered now in the car with the weight on it. So when you lift the car on a leaf spring car, the rear end goes forward, and as the suspension goes down, like the car goes down, it kind of goes back. That's why your shackle at the back moves. So a lot of people said, well, just put it back, you know, 3/4 of an inch or something like that instead of cutting out the wheel tub or whatever, the quarter panel. So a couple of things. A, I think that would then push it back. I think it's fairly well centered. I like the way it looks. B, I'll show you maybe on another video or later this one. The rear end actually touched the fuel tank where there was a little seam that had to bend back. So I bent it back, got about an inch more clearance. So at this point now, I bet under full load, like over some train tracks, we are close to the rear end entering the fuel tank. No problem, babe. Because we'll be in the States where there's no train tracks. But, I mean, I gave her the old bounce test. I don't hear anything, so I think we're fine. And it's not like we're gonna load all of our tools and spare tires and lug it in here and sack the thing out anyways, so it'll be fine. So, Danny ordered supper. I'm gonna take a break and do that. I haven't been filming a whole lot of the wirings, it's super boring. We'll, you know, get to the end, I gotta wire up a horn, electric fans, a few little things like that. Really, let's get to driving this thing. That's where I want to be too. I'm trying not to cut corners. I'm trying to do it all right. And I'll have it done tonight, maybe drive it late tonight or tomorrow, depending on how it goes. Scene. Well, it has been a multitude of days. The garage is trashed. I didn't know where I left it just because I was doing such boring things that nobody cares about. We got the wiring taken care of. I got shocks all the way around. We cleaned up inside. The wiring's just kind of tucked up. It's not permanent yet. Got the cluster in. All the signals and all that work. Horn. Everything there works. Somebody cut the carpet a little short, so the sill plates don't exactly cover everything, but yeah, it's fine. Under here has been a lot of time. I spent a bunch of time and made new, ow, that's hot. I just had it running. All new plug wire. I'm not used to that where I can't lean on the radiator. Who'd have thought, having a running car. Plug wires are all rooted. It's a little messy back there, but everything is away. I had to make, you know, throttle linkage, put air filters on it. These are Edelbrocks, and I kind of feel like that's a big FU to Holly. And they helped me out so much on this with all their tech support, so we DD speed shopped it. Ooh, a wrench. Horns in, obviously, wiring tightened up. We got signal lights. I did take those off my 55 Chevy before I put it in storage. So some things are not permanent. This is everything I left kind of long. It's just temporary, but this is what's controlling the fan, so I left that long. I don't know what I'm doing for a cooling system just yet. Put a thermostat in it. We hid all the wiring under the intake manifold. What else did I do? I made front shocks work. Honestly, there was a lot of work under the car. Tucking stuff away, making sure it was all good. Not gonna rub, not gonna catch fire, all that sort of stuff. So this thing, I don't know if it has any sort of alignment in it. It's probably terrible, but we have a fire extinguisher. I'm gonna toss a few tools in the back, and we're gonna go for a test drive. I've only ever driven this thing, I think, garage to garage. I might have gone around the block once just because it would have been easier to get into the garage. But I think I only did in the wintertime too. Oh, I'm so excited. Oh, I found a hood latch. One bolt's broken, I gotta deal with that, but it's like a legitimate car. I almost feel speechless. This has been like the biggest project I've ever had in my life. And yeah, it's kind of coming to completion. Weird. We still have lots of little things to do, but for now, let's get Danny. Let's go for a ride. We have first gear. That's all I know so far, but that's all you need. A little nervous. Danny made brownies, whether it's celebration brownies or pity brownies. Guess we'll see. I did have it outside. It warmed up. Always a good start. Hopefully it's just still kind of learning, figuring itself out. What's going on here? It's out of gas or something, maybe? I don't know what is in it.
Maybe let's try with gas.
Well, it has a jerry can in it. I think I drove it. Well. I wonder if it's out of gas. Well, let's go get some gas, I guess.
Do we have to leave to get gas? You don't have any?
Probably not.
Back from gas.
Back from gas. Let's give it a couple of... I had it running, so I don't know what the... Back from gas, okay. Still not happy and the fuel pump keeps running. What? How? 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 I just had it idling, warmed it up. This may require more screwing around than I had initially thought. I had it idling, got up to temperature, tested the fans. Everything was fine.
Did you accidentally unclick anything?
Well, I guess we're about to find out. I don't think so, though. I don't know what I could have done under the hood there that would have been unhappy. Alright, well, back to the drawing board. It's all the holy stuff. Connectors are all still connected.
If I may, it's probably because you actually have a rad cap on.
Yeah, it's all like ready to go. Frustrating. Can't imagine what I would have done here.
Is it a computer people problem?
Well, when I was messing around, I got to the screen and when I was under the dash, I had the key on testing lights, and this thing said something about like it was in the reprogram screen, but I just went I just went to home, Then I clicked it in there and it looked like it was on a single sniper for some reason, so maybe that's the problem. So we'll reprogram the thing and see what it does. All I did was reprogram it. So we'll let it, once it gets to like 160 degrees, it starts to learn. It's at 141. So we'll just see if it starts learning and turns itself on and does something. It seems to be idling now. I don't know. Technology, man. So I'll give it a minute and see.
So what happened?
I don't quite know what I did, but it wasn't running, and I was giving it gas, and it would run, and then it would die, and then if I throttled it, it would go. And then I think maybe part of the problem was it had learned without air filters on, and then it was having trouble. So then I just upped the idle manually, and it ran to the point where it got to the learn, and then it kind of started going okay. And then it still had trouble starting, so I played with the IAC, which is idle air control valve. So I upped that like 20 or 30% on the first 4 seconds of crank, and then it seemed to go. So that's good. Still has like a bit of a knocky noise when it first starts. I don't know if it's a timing thing or maybe it just might be something's hitting. It's hard to tell, but it seems to go okay. I rev it and it kind of stumbles every now and again. But I think a lot of it's just the battery's been unplugged. It keeps getting learned and tuned and all that. So let's put a few miles on it and see if we get anywhere. We can always walk home. Romantic walk date. And I think it needs a proper tune. So there's a couple guys locally. I'd like to maybe hook this thing up to a laptop, and not for all-out power, just for, you know, reliability and stuff. And go from there. So, you think it'll start? After I said all that and I was messing around for a half hour, angry by myself.
Yeah, I offered to stay outside with him and he politely said, please do not.
So, I don't know. Seems to go. And then you can hear it idle now. Technology. We got a fire extinguisher? Yeah. Used to driving this thing. Sounds like the front tires are scrubbing pretty bad. You can really hear them. Might have an alignment issue. I think I've only drove in the wintertime, so you don't notice it when it's sliding. Slowing the car down the definitely feel a little unadjusted. She feels spunky. dying there. It had like no throttle. Now it's okay. A little nervous about going on the main road there. What do we do here? I don't know why it just lost everything there for a second. It said no data on the thing. It's like a loose wire or something. So we'll be accelerating, and then all of a sudden it just kind of dies, and then it blows out the exhaust, so it's really rich. Oh, it looks like something's leaking here too. Is that us?
Yeah.
That is.
Definitely us.
See anything behind us leaking? It says it keeps heating up the O2. Well, I don't know what to say there. Idle's okay. That's a win, I guess.
And you drove it.
Is it a win?
Yes.
Not happy. Now it's idling like crazy on its own. We're advertising the name as we're pissing off the neighbors. Of course, this guy wants to go down. I don't think people are seeing the humor in it. Alright, let's just take this old girl home. Not happy with us. We need to figure it out. So we drive to Mers.
We'll get to Mers eventually.
but the front tire's howling. So she needs an alignment bad. She seems like she might be kind of figuring it out. I wonder how the super lean there. How the learning thing goes. You have to drive it a bunch or what?
It's hard to drive it when it's popping and everyone's dipping their lawn care.
Yeah, definitely Saturday afternoon is not the time to do the learn. Man, the brakes are terrible too. Let's just put her home. Things like when it wants to go, it wants to go.
Yeah.
She's a little upset. She's a little upset though. Definitely a hit and miss. I think she'll start again. And the O2 is the weird one. So it idles high for 4 seconds, then drops down, goes in a closed loop and starts learning. Everything seems normal. It's just like the LS. Well, it wasn't as good of a first drive as I was hoping. Transmission felt nice. The front end is ridiculous with the alignment. It needs like alignment bad. It's just scrubbing like crazy. That was a little exciting though. I think it needs a phone call to Holly, so I have to maybe go through some stuff and see what they recommend, and we'll kind of go from there. The one thing I did, and I will admit, I grabbed power to the distributor and to the Holly from the same wire, and you're probably not supposed to do that, so maybe that's a bit of an issue. So I can rewire that and change it and go from there. But I think it might just need to be driven to learn a little bit. Anyways, that's my man. It's been a lot of work on this thing, so work the bugs out. Hopefully next week take it for a few more drives. We gotta do wipers and stuff next, but thanks for watching. Please subscribe below so I can continue to waste time and money on these old hot rods. At least you probably look cool. I mean, we pissed off an old lady on the first ride.
That lady was not, you're gonna have to zoom in on her face. She was not happy.
When you're pissing off little old ladies, means you got a hot rod. Except for her name was all over the side of it. We should probably rethink these things, eh? Anyways, I don't know what we're doing next, but we're working on something. Thanks for watching. Well, how do we get out here? I want that brownie now. I've earned it.
The funny thing about the brownies.
They're ready?
Try again? I'm just kidding, they're ready. Let me out, please. This butt will not fit through this window.
So you thought the video was over, eh? I couldn't. I uploaded the stuff onto the computer and I was like, I gotta get back out here. So oh, so we can brake fluid.
Well, a brownie helped too, I'm sure.
Side, oh yeah, we had a brownie. So, a few things I did. I watched a few instructional videos. I didn't read the instructions at all. Murr did. He didn't let me know any of these things. So this is kind of on the technical side, but I was running the distributor and the switch power off the same wire. So it had to have switch power, like key on and crank. I ran the distributor and the Holly trigger off the same wire. I thought it'd be fine. Turns out it wasn't. So I ran a new wire to the Holly and just the existing wire left to run the distributor, so they had their own thing. What was happening is we were driving and the screen would go no data and it was screwing up and it was just unhappy. So I did that. After that, there's a bit of a procedure for relearning, which I was not doing. Again, probably in the instructions. So what I did was I set the idle where I wanted, or was idling, and you actually back the idle off manually like you would like a regular carburetor, and you watch the IAC until it gets down to like a 5 or 6% range. Then you have to shut the car off and relearn it so it relearns the throttle position. So I did that. That's all I did. Now the other thing is if you step back here and you look at the, way back where I am, look at the tires.
Wait.
So they're pointed in and they're towed in. So obviously because we put those big springs in there, we lifted up in the suspension. So we can just add shims, so it'll be fine. We'll fix that. But they're scrubbing pretty bad. But let's try and go for a ride. There you go. After I just said all those things. Fired up nice. And died. What the heck? Nice to go for a test drive. The camera went on. Why is it doing that now? It's doing the same thing it was before. How is this possible? I thought I had her fixed. I went for a ride around the block, everything was good. Shut it off, started a few times. And it is not happy. Start is not super happy. We'll see what happens. I thought I had it fixed last time, it didn't go in. Nah, we're gonna have to get a light, we'll be right back. Used to it. I think it's a big part. I've never driven this car, but everybody's out with their bikes today. No, it's not happy still. Well, maybe it's good. I don't know. It seems happier in that, like, it kind of comes and goes. Doing it. Oh, I thought we fixed it. I went around the block, everything was good. Now it's clearly unhappy again. What a hassle. Well, we'll see if it learns or does something, maybe, I don't know. Of course, camera's off. I was out beating on it. It was going good. Lots of power.
It's shy.
I don't know what it is. It's very strange. Kills the ignition. no data thing anymore. So obviously that wire was a problem. Now the next one is going to be, I think it's distributor related at this point. So maybe it's got, I grounded it to the intake manifold. Yeah, man. Oh yeah, there we go. No data in duct. Obviously I fixed nothing. And the starter's jumping. And it is not happy. Be good. We got to cross traffic on the way home. Now it's just idling a 2000 by itself.
This is like when the Cobra was doing this, remember? We literally had to do this like the whole way home.
I feel like I forget the tow truck. Like it's just, I don't even know what it's doing now. Will it make it home?
I mean, we're so close.
The problem is if it dies in traffic, it's a little embarrassing.
Eh. The way she goes, at least it's a full car.
Well, that's true.
As long as we can make it across these lights that are coming up.
Yeah. That is the problem. Stop ahead of time and let's wait for the light to change.
Nice and slow.
Stop back here so at least if it dies we can
Oh
roll
yes,
through.
for the biker hitting the button.
The only time you want a biker, eh? Well, that's unfortunate. Just when I think I have it all figured out, I don't.
You know what though, you probably did fix something and now it's just another thing and then another thing.
Oh, well, I think the distributor is the next thing we're going to work on. But it is throwing a loop for that thing, so. Can't see the lights changing. The bikers went through on a red.
He did. Three, two, one, zero.
Die. Brought you back thinking I fixed it, but instead you just got another, I don't know, 5 or 6 minutes of struggling. Just when you think you have it figured out.
That's hot rod, baby.
Everything else is sweet though, the transmission and stuff. The car actually drives not bad.
This will be sweet too as soon as it's sorted.
Kept going after you shut it off there too. All right, well, yeah, check grounds, check powers, and leave me a comment. If you know what's wrong with it, actually send me a comment.
Oh my, there's gonna be so many people that are gonna comment. They for sure know what's wrong.
But I'll read them all and maybe they'll figure it out.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome. If you've done a sniper and you've had any issues, please message me. All right, now I'm done. enjoy the video, please.